The Rockpile Report, the pettiest, hardest drinking Bills podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Rockpile Report podcast. I'm your host, Bills season ticket holder Drew Gear. That's my producer, Chris Kruger. I've got Iman Azizi from Q42 Barbecue riding shotgun with me. And we're here talking about the final week of Bills training camp. And I'm holding this microphone like I'm
Steven Tyler and Aerosmith.
What? Yeah, that is an Aerosmith thing, right?
To the cocktail.
Chris,
you're going to miss it.
Holy shit, what did you do to this ice? Oh my God, Iman, look at it. What? It's the logo! The logo is in an ice cube! The Rockpile Report. People, I am holding a glass of bourbon, and in my hand is a cube of ice with the Rockpile Report logo frozen in it. What did... This is almost like Ghostbusters. Chris, what did you do?
It's a birthday present from Jessica.
A mold in the logo of the podcast?
Yeah.
She really is the best ever.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to take a sniff of this. It's obviously bourbon, right, Iman?
Yeah, a lot of brown.
A lot of brown. God, that logo in a fucking ice cube. Dude, this is the sexiest thing I've ever seen. I don't want to drink it. Ooh. Okay. So I get some earthiness. There's a little bit of spice, like a cinnamon. Obviously whiskey. There's no citrus at all. You're a citrus guy. I'm surprised, Chris. What did you make here?
That's what you missed out on when we had Fally Allen. Iman, you missed out on that too. It's a black Manhattan. A black Manhattan is bitters, a rye whiskey, and Amaro, specifically Amaro Averna, which I don't have, but I used a different Amaro that I have.
Ooh. Spicy.
It's deep.
Yeah, it's a dark drink.
Oh, that's a January drink.
Yeah, like this is a winter warmer. Like this is something guys, you wouldn't drink this floating around in a pool.
That's a sitting at the bar with our weather lady from Channel 2.
Guys, I don't know if you know, this is one of the funniest things about Iman. His celebrity crush is Maria Gennaro.
Yeah.
He believes that once his current wife leaves him, he's going to put on a smoking jacket and go hang out at the Snooty Fox and wait for Maria to come in for her post-work glass of red.
Merlot. Yeah.
Remember she strikes you as a Merlot lady?
Yeah. Merlot and a cigarette and like a little tin.
She has a cigarette case.
This is a cocktail for that.
You think Maria Gennaro has a cigarette case?
Or it's Virginia Slims.
I think you're sorely mistaken. I think she is a filtered Marb red.
Really?
Yeah, I think she's a filtered Marb red, and I bet you she spits. I bet you she spits and probably cusses people out behind their back.
That's what I've heard.
That's what I've heard.
I don't believe it. I don't believe what the papers say.
Guys, we are here talking about the final week of Bills training camp. And I got to say, if I'm going to open it with anything, it's going to be the fact that I took my son. It was one of the cooler experiences I've had to date. I took my son to the blue and red scrimmage. Larissa and we took him. And I don't know. I just thought, like, with them intending to tear this thing down, and we just start talking about what this is and like what the future holds for the team, for the stadium. I want him to see it. I want him to get to experience it at some point in his life when he's old enough to have memories, so that when it's gone and it's rubble, he can at least look back and go, I was there a few times. I kind of remember like being at this place and running around with Dad, and it was fun. I mean, I took him everywhere. Like I was explaining to him, this is the place Daddy goes on Sundays when he's not at home. Like when he's gone all day, this is where I go. And he thought that was the coolest thing in the world. He's like, oh, Daddy, you hang out here. He kept saying it. You hang out here? You hang out here. Like now, mind you, there's only 10,000, 10,000 people allowed at this scrimmage?
Something like that. I can't wait until Jack's of age to where he recognizes that no one looks at a laptop at that fucking angle.
Can I tear down the fourth wall for a second? You do know I've only started doing this since I realized it bothered you.
I literally just
Chris, the first time I tilted my laptop like this, I watched your face.
you
And
just
the
did
way-
it now.
I
and
know.
It irritated me.
Because no, I know that it irritated you 2 weeks ago. Last week was the week I decided to do it all the time. And your reaction was exactly what I was looking for. And you're doing it again. I love the fact that this gets under your skin.
Yeah, because you are the one that's worried about the shot and how your camera looks, and you just make it look worse by putting your laptop at an angle that no one in the history of mankind looks at a laptop.
They call us trendsetters, Chris. So I'm in the stadium with my son, and it's cool because it's not as crowded as it would be on a game day. So you can just let him run. He's running the concourse, and he thinks this is the coolest place that he's ever been. Like, took him to the top of the 300 section just to let him see it all. And it was like a Lion King moment where I was like, look at it all, kid.
Did he meet Tony?
No, Tony was unfortunately not there. I would have loved to introduce him to Tony. I took him to the top of the 300, took him to my seats, and was like, this is where Daddy sits. And he goes, pretty good. And I was like, no, it's amazing. It's not pretty good, it's amazing, but I wouldn't expect you to know that. But then he was just like, oh, what's that? And he was asking about the names on the wall behind, and I started talking. Like, it was a cool moment to get to show my son something that's been a part of my life for a decade, since before I met his mother, since before he was ever even a thought in my mind, to be able to show him, like, this is where Dad goes. This is who I am. These are my people. And then the best part is that whenever he had to go to the bathroom, or whenever we would let him down, I'd stop carrying him on my shoulders, or I'd put him down and let him run. He would, like, no, I didn't have to prompt him. He would run around just going, hey, and then trying to high five and fist bump anybody who made eye contact with him. And I was like, first of all, it's my fucking kid. Second of all, he's in it. Like I think that's it, right? Like, first of all, he also fell in love with piss troughs. Can we talk about that? Chris, we go in the bathroom, and the bathroom up from, because I took him down to the corner because I wanted him to be able to see the Jumbotron.
Yep.
And like I thought, he cheered for Josh Allen when Josh Allen came out, but he also cheered just as hard for Billy Buffalo literally every time he saw him. So I don't know where his loyalty lies in that aspect. I guess Billy Buffalo rules when you're 3. I could see that. But so then every time he had to go to the bathroom right across from us had piss troughs, which I don't get to see in our seats, Chris. Our bathrooms all have toilets, right?
I'm anti piss trough. I'm 100% George Costanza. Full bathroom, door to the floor.
Oh, you want door to the floor?
That's what I want to see at the new stadium. Door all the way to the floor.
So my kid's in there. We go into the bathroom, and there's the piss troughs, and there's like an 8-year-old kid. Now, mind you, the line for the 3 urinals that are in that bathroom is like 4 people deep. Here's an 8-year-old with his pants around his ankles, just holding himself up on the edge of the piss trough, just peeing next to his dad with his dad's like arm around him. And Jack goes, "What's that boy doing?" And I start laughing. I go, so then the next time we go to the bathroom, I go to take him to the stall so we can sit on the toilet, and he goes, No, there. I want to pee there." And I was like, "Fuck you, kid. You think I don't give a shit. I'll pee on the floor here. I have zero shame. I have less shame than anyone in this building right now."
It's getting torn down anyway.
I pick up my kid, I pull his pants down to his ankles, and I hold him to my chest and just let him piss in the piss trough. And he is having the time. He's laughing. He's having the time of his life. And like, there's other guys down the line at the piss trough who are just looking at me nodding. Like, yeah, you're learning them right. But I don't know, like, just watching him get the run of the stadium and get that experience. high-fiving complete strangers, fist bumping people. There was an old woman in a wheel, like a motorized, like almost like the Walmart mobiles, who like kind of like the hover round type thing, and she hover rounded up to the edge, but she couldn't go down to the seats. I didn't know this, but apparently Jack had made friends with her at some point in the day. So as we're going to leave, he stopped and said goodbye to her and gave her a high five. And the look on her face, now this was every time I walk past her, she's just a sourpuss old lady. When Jack said goodbye and then gave her a high five, the look on her face, I was like, that's it. That's it right there in a nutshell. That's what this thing is. It's proof that this thing I've believed in, that there's a magic around what being not just a fan, but this community and the community building that this fandom does is real. Because you've got a 3-year-old, like how many generations stand between those two people?
Yeah.
But it brought them together in that moment, and this lady could use a pick-me-up, and that little boy fucking went out of his way to go give it to her.
Yep.
It's incredible. It was everything. It was just like, I don't know. It's proof that this isn't just a figment of my imagination.
So Jack will be 5 or 6 when the stadium changes.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
All right. So now he's got that memory.
And so watching him fall in love with this and then fall in love with the communal aspect of being in the stadium and being around other people who are a fan the way you're a fan of this stuff. Like, it just warmed my cold black heart in a way that not a lot of things can. It was an amazing day. And I mean, in the interim, you know, Ryan Lasel showed up.
That's nice.
Him and his son sat next to us.
I was going to say, do you want to do this now or wait till the end of the show? The stuff that we have right here.
Oh, the hot sauce?
Yes.
We'll save that for the end.
End of the show.
We got some
Sorry,
hot
Rich
sauce reviews.
Perks. End
Rich
of the
Perks.
show.
End of the show. But so Ryan Lasa was there. Me, my wife, my son, him, his son. We all sat, we settled in, and we got to watch Bill's training camp. Well, I watched my son watch Bill's camp. I mean, realistically, I wasn't paying a lot of attention to what went on in the field, but I saw enough. And throughout this week's training camp reports, I'm pretty sure I'm qualified to speak on the good, the bad, and the ugly. We're going to start with the good. Jordan Phillips is back.
I like him.
How do you not like him?
He's my low-key favorite Bills player.
What I love about him, and I know this is going to sound terrible, people are going to get mad when they hear it.
That he's not a fan of Bruce Nolan?
Well, yes, that's actually pretty funny. But also the fact that when he does his interviews, he sounds like Dave Chappelle doing his white guy voice.
Yep.
The first time I heard him speak is when he came back last year after free agency. That was the first time I'd ever heard him speak in a microphone. And I go, is he doing a bit? Is this a joke? Because if so, he's killing it.
He had his daughters all over him in the One Bills Live interview this week. And he was just like, yeah, I'm just having fun.
I'm just having fun.
And Tasker, they called him out like, but on the field, you're a different guy. He's like, yeah, I'm happy right now. Like,
because think about this. Like, it's almost like, so during the, I don't know if people out there listening to this are probably familiar, the show The Ultimate Fighter. It's like a UFC-based reality TV show. They talk to these people like because their idea is, we want you to see these people in their element, and we want you to see them, and then they're going to fight. And you're going to see it, and it's going to create drama and conflict and all this stuff. But then also there's a UFC fight that happens, which people gravitate towards. One of the things Potter and I always joke around about is this guy we called him Chi Man. And I'll never remember his name. He didn't make the UFC, but he was like, oh, I have to move my entire room around to align my chi and all this stuff. And we were like, that's a weirdo. And he was a total dork. And then at one point, and he was just goofy. And everyone goes, oh, we're all serious, man. I'll kick your head in. And here's this guy going, ice cream sandwiches, dudes. How do you not want to eat a whole box of ice cream sandwiches right now? And then they interview him before a fight, and he's just very calm. And they're like, so what's going through your mind right now? And he goes, nothing. Just that I'm about to step into a vortex of violence. And you're like, and the look on his face, you're like, oh no, he's a crazy person. And sure enough, he came out and massacred the guy that he fought. And you're like, oh no. Because that's what happens when people can accurately separate the violence of what they want to accomplish from who they are as a person. Jordan Phillips strikes me as that guy.
Yes, definitely.
We've often joked about how he plays football at a speed we wish Ed Oliver had.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you run into him, you see him anywhere else, and it's like he's golf dad.
Yeah.
He's golf dad.
Yeah.
It's wild. But here's what I like. He's back. He's off the pup list. If you think about McDermott's direction for the defense and what it's going to take here in 2017 or 2023, I dial it back to 2017 because I don't know. We're going to need an aggressive front seven to make up for some things.
Mm-hmm.
The middle linebacker position, it won't be good.
It's names we don't know and like.
It will be mediocre at best, but that's okay. You don't have to have the world's best middle linebacker in order to, I mean, I think the Chiefs have proved this. You don't have to have great linebacker play in order to win a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
What you have to have is a team that plays like a unit and a defensive line that then, if you know that's your weakness is the linebacker core, your defensive line better do the heavy lifting. And over the years, they've paid a lot of money to the Frank Clarks and I guess they haven't paid Chris Jones yet.
No.
They haven't
There's
paid
a report from KCSN,
Okay.
also on Blue Wire, that they're far apart and it's not happening.
Well, so you're looking at this. They have always invested in the D-line and just put out peasant linebackers.
Yep.
And it didn't matter. They dominate. Why? Because the offense can carry the day and your secondary and your coaching and your D-line does enough to win. That's it. Well, we're trying to be the same thing now with a weak middle linebacker position, but we think we can paper over it with all the other talent that we have. I look at this and go, when McDermott's 2017 Bills broke the drought, you couldn't name a single motherfucker on the defensive line except for Kyle Williams. Name one. Who else was on the defensive line in 2017, Chris, with Kyle Williams?
Was that cold front? So
No. That was Sean McDermott's first year, and then they got rid of Marcel Darius in the middle of the year. They traded him away. So who was on, like, let's say week 10, who was on that team? Can you name one off the top of your head?
Was Kelsey on that team? Chris Kelsey?
Chris Kelsey? No, I don't think he was there. I think he was already gone.
Oh,
You're better
that's
off going to
rough.
our lads. Oh, no. All right, he's got it. Here we go.
I'm curious.
Chris is going.
yeah, I'm trying to find.
Eddie Yarbrough.
Oh, God damn you!
Jesus Christ.
Eddie Yarbrough.
Here we go.
Yeah. Adolphus Washington.
Shaq. We got Shaq Wilson.
Shaq Lawson. Okay. These are your defensive linemen. And then who else? Nordley Cappy.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. Nordley Cappy
Played 4 games.
played 4 games for us.
Mike Tolbert.
You had no defensive line to speak of.
Wow.
And you had no what? Preston Brown was your fucking linebacker.
Jarrell Worthy.
Jarrell Worthy. You had a mediocre to poor front four and a really mediocre linebacker core. But they were a unit that finished 11th in turnovers forced, right? Each of our safeties had 5 picks. Trey White had 4, and our DBs contributed 6 forced fumbles. They got away with overloading and blitzing and just, hey, our talent isn't good, but schematically we can make this work. Well, so far through camp, that's been the soup du jour. Except we're doing it with way better talent than that group had.
Yeah.
And you know that even though people talk about this as Leslie Frazier's defense, when Sean McDermott took over this team in his first season, he left the offense to Rick Dennison, and he took the defense. And the defense in 2017 was Sean McDermott. That Rick Dennison offense, why do you think they fired him into the sun as soon as the season ended? It was 2 things. 1, they were ineffective. But 2, Rick Dennison was the one who went to him and said, hey, I need a Nathan Peterman.
Yep.
And so Sean
That's right.
McDermott falls on the sword, but goes, hey, I'm not going to forget this.
Yep.
You dickhead. It was my call. I made the choice to swap out the quarterbacks in the middle of 2017. But guess what? I didn't just think of that out of nowhere. I had a coordinator telling me, hey, I need this in order to be a winner. Well, how'd that work out for everybody involved?
Not good, Bob.
So they needed that defense, and it was great with no talent.
Mm-hmm.
So now they have talent, and Sean McDermott is kind of holding the reins again. Like, now the problem is it's one thing to do that and break a drought when you're a mediocre football team. It's another thing to do it while you're playing a first-place divisional schedule because you're a winner. So now you're playing the toughest schedule that any division, you know what I mean? That's what happens.
Our first game is everyone's watching.
Yeah, this is it.
Aaron Rodgers.
And so in that way, they're going to need pass rush and pressure to help force more turnovers. That's it. When we won with mediocre talent and linebacker, we did it because we were able to pressure enough.
Mm-hmm.
Just they manufacture it in order to cause turnovers.
So what is he going to do? Because Rodgers is untouched for a year now. Like as a Jets quarterback, he's never going to be touched. The push is going to be, can McDermott get heat on him to make a statement?
Oh, yeah. No, I guarantee you there's going to be pressure. And this is why Jordan Phillips getting back is the best, right? Like right now, you're going to go into kind of this tough schedule, but also that first game. That first game is a test, and it's a
game plan test.
And you don't have your marquee talent.
You're
missing
game.
Von Miller.
It's a playoff game test.
Yes, and you're missing Von Miller. So with that in mind, you're going to need pass rush help anywhere you can get it. Well, getting Jordan Phillips back now, even though he's just practicing and working in a limited fashion, that's actually good because it means it's going to save him from all those preseason contests. We're probably not going to see Jordan Phillips touch a football field until it actually matters. Mm-hmm. But that's ideal for a guy like him because we already know what he is. He's a veteran. He knows what it is. He knows what the game is. He knows game speed. What are you worried he's going to be rusty?
So, all right, let's talk about like Boogie Basham, Epinesa. Those are the guys who want to, and Rousseau. Will they make a step this year?
They have to.
Because those are the guys who need to make pressure.
But also we have Floyd. And there's a reason we paid Floyd a 1-year, $9 million contract. Because we recognize that just in case, we need a guy who we know can rush. We have that now. So now it's just, can we do the thing where we suck everybody into the middle of the defensive line to get those edge rushers time?
Poona Ford was my favorite signing of this offseason.
And so
because he's a Pat Williams.
Yeah, well, this is it. He's a block. I think that he's been referred to as a manhole cover, a fire hydrant. Like they're like, you can't move this guy. But also then you've got a Daquan Jones who quietly wins, like statistically is a monster in terms of pass rush win rate.
So now you have because of this, of all the other pass rushers.
Yeah. So now you can put your line out there week 1 against the Jets, even without a Von Miller, and go, we're going to get one-on-one matchups on the edge. Can we exploit them with an Epinesa, a Rousseau, a Floyd? We still have a better pass rush rotation than most football teams.
Yep.
And that's why Phillips being back in the fold now and getting ready for week 1 is so important because you need to keep it that way. You need to keep those tackles for the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season on an island. His addition to the fold brings that. Also, Dalton Kincaid still doing the fucking thing. Like, this isn't just a rookie who, like, hey, I caught some passes and we looked flashy for a week or two and then pads came on and I faded. He just balls because he's got size, ball skills.
We've never had this.
No, Chris, a tight end?
No.
Hey, whoa, hang on.
Jay Reamersma.
So we had Keith McKellar. Then we had, who was the guy from Florida State?
I went through the draft history. The Bills have never spent a first-round draft
hold
pick
on.
it,
We got a guy.
Except for
Tony Hunter.
Back in the 90s. Well, for Tony Hunter, but fuck that guy.
There was a guy in the 90s we got.
I hope he got hit
Butch
by a
Roll?
bus.
Not
No.
Butch.
There was another guy.
No. So here's what I love about the Dalton Kincaid thing. He's proven that it's not a fluke.
Hold on. Lonnie Johnson.
Lonnie Johnson.
That was the big tight end we were going to have to save the world.
They produced, like they put, like most tight ends, like everybody who's good when they're first, like rookies, especially when you're in early phase of training camp, everyone goes nuts over, oh, you need this all these highlight reel catches. And then pads come on and contact gets introduced. And that guy shrinks. He shrinks like George Costanza getting out of the fucking pool. The reason why is because these guys are used to a college level of physicality, which especially if you play in what, Chris, the Big 12?
Yeah.
There's none. There's no defense to be had. You move to the NFL, everybody is the best defensive player you've ever played in your life. So then you want to see them, like you expect to see them shrink when contact gets introduced because veterans know how to get their hands on you. They know how to corral you. They know how to bump you off your route or slow you down enough that you can't get separation. Kincaid has kept steamrolling along. This is the thing that makes me the most excited about him, is that in the face of guys like Matt Milano, he is still out there doing the fucking thing. Matt Milano has shut down Mark Andrews. He has taken away some of the premier weapons in the NFL. To know that in training camp Kincaid is still getting his tells me that, like, that's why I'm excited to watch this Colts game. To see him go up against somebody else's linebackers who are subpar. Can he eat in this environment? I want to see that. I want to see him make a couple plays because that'll be proof positive that everything that I'm seeing and hearing is not false. The kid has chops and he's going to be very good at this. Like, Chris, that's one of the missing elements from the team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also, missing elements, the Bills are going to have a multitude of slot options. That's the thing we've learned in week 2 of Bills training camp. It's a 3-horse race over the course of the summer. You've got Hardy, Shakir, and Sherfield. Hardy, he's the guy who got paid. Hardy is the guy who the team gave a giant contract to out of nowhere. Like, if you look at his stats, there's nothing statistically that justifies that. But if you look at his tape and you look at some of the fine metrics, you go, okay, this is Moneyball. They're trying to Moneyball their way into a Tyreek Hill type wide receiver. A guy who can just break a defense open at any point in time with the right play call, the right play design. We motion him around to get him into an advantageous situation and take a shot. I like that. I don't hate it. Then you've got Shakir, last year's 5th round pick, who, 10 targets in the regular season? And then they go into the playoffs and they go, man, that's a guy. That's a fucking guy we need.
Yep.
Oh, he dropped the ball. Boo! It's like, well, you can't throw a guy 10 footballs and then expect him to catch him in crunch time. And then Trent Sherfield, this fast, physical wide receiver with a very different skill set from any slot entity we've had since David Nelson.
David Nelson. Ooh.
Chris, that's a throwback. David Nelson.
Proposed to a cheerleader?
Yeah.
He did propose to a cheerleader, but he was also one of the best run-blocking slot receivers this team ever had. So with that in mind, like if you talk to the reporters covering camp, Sherfield has been the most consistent of the 3, which I think I like. Because what that means is that you're going to be able to put out a wide receiver if that's the hierarchy and if it survives the preseason. Because obviously all of this camp conjecture turns into dust when you start playing teams that don't give a fuck about you. They're not your teammates. They don't need to care about you.
Right.
They're going to hit you like men. So with that in mind, I see this and I go, Sherfield being the most consistent of the 3 is maybe the best thing to happen for this football team because he's fast. He can catch the ball. His home run touchdown at the beginning for Miami last year at the beginning of the San Francisco game that they go on to lose tells you he's got big play potential. But also just look at him. He's the biggest slot option we've had, and he's a fit. Look at the size of his quads. Chris, we joked about that during a show earlier this summer.
This is the 3rd time you brought that up.
His quads, listen, I'm like Spike from Little Giants. I'm like his dad. It's like, I want to rub those things down with the, what do you call him? What was he calling? Like something infused milk? He's like, every night I rub his hamstrings with milk. Like, that's what I want to do with this guy because I can see him being a weapon for this team. He just needs to get the opportunities to do it. Now, some people look at that and hear, well, we have 3 options, and they go, wow, glass half empty. If no one's taken the job, then it must mean it's going to suck again. I prefer to see it the other way, whereas it means we have options.
Mm-hmm.
Now you get to pick and choose. Like a 3 wide receiver set of Sherfield, Davis, and Diggs gives you one of the best run blocking wide receiver cores in the AFC East.
We are better than last year.
Yes, right? Like that's it. You've gotten better by leaps and bounds at the slot position because you're not just trusting McKenzie to go trip over the fucking goal line again. That Chiefs game, I'll never forgive him for that. We won, but I'll never forgive him for that. You were wide fucking open. Josh tried to pitch out to you and you dropped it, and then you tripped over the goal line. Done. You're cut from my football team. Like, that's it. Like, I just love the fact that we have all these multifaceted skill sets that we can mold into that one position that we haven't had. Chris, who is the last good slot receiver for Buffalo?
Isaiah McKenzie.
Except for Cole Beasley. Cole Beasley was the answer for 2 seasons. And actually like 1.5 seasons.
Billy Brooks. Bill Brooks.
Holy shit, you're old. Jesus Christ.
You guys deaf? I said Isaiah McKenzie.
Oh, no, we heard you. We just didn't acknowledge it because it's obviously false.
Remember Cookie? Cookie Gilchrist.
Can you please tell our listeners about this?
So, in St. Louis...
Because you do it all the time. I want them to understand.
In St. Louis, I helped run the Bills backers of St. Louis. And there was an old guy from Tonawanda who...
Tonawanda, obviously.
Every week would go on about Cookie Gilchrist. And he would elbow you. Remember Cookie? That guy looks like Cookie Gilchrist. And that was just the thing every week. And it just became an inside joke. If anything you like about what the Bills do, say it's like Cookie Gilchrist. And ask the guy, do you remember Cookie? And then elbow him.
Oh, my God. Dude, I couldn't handle that.
We had to kick him out of the group when he got really pissed at Kevin Everett when he got his spinal injury.
Chris, I feel like that's everybody's timeline.
Yeah.
Like if you're old enough, you eventually live long enough to offend everyone.
Yeah,
So-
we got to get rid of this guy.
So here's what I'm trying to point out here. Between Kincaid, between our slot options, Hardy, Shakir, like Hardy's your motion option. He's your orbit motion. You move him around the formation. Shakir is your straight line. I can test the speed up the seam. That's what he did in that Dolphins game. That's why he was open. I can beat linebackers and then get on a safety and you throw me a ball and I'll fight for it. They have a group of pass catchers at the slot group, whether they go 3 or 4 wide, that have a really unique group of skill sets that gives Ken Dorsey probably the most tools he's had to work with since he was slinging a rock for the Hurricanes. That's it. The hope is that he can figure out how to utilize them and how to maximize their impact on the football field via his play calls. Now, Chris, there's obviously the bad to come out of this week.
Everything you're doing is bad. I want you to know this.
Torrance good versus the run, but Bates is still ahead because you're a pass-heavy offense. Like, that's a problem. We discussed this pre-camp. We played out kind of how, like, this has gone the way I was afraid it would. Like, the popular opinion amongst Bills fans pre-camp was that we want and need to see Torrance win the right guard job because we know Bates is not, he's mediocre. He's not good enough. We need an improvement. Well, the problem is that if you want a perfect lineman, you have to take Bates and staple him to Torrance's back, or butcher him up and sew him back together, kind of like a Frankenstein. Although, is it weird we call him Frankenstein, but he's really Frankenstein's monster? I feel like as children they sell us this lie that like, oh, that's Frankenstein. No, it's not. And then you read the book and you go, well, that's fucking depressing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what? Lies. So, I'm sorry. I get real salty about the whole Frankenstein thing. Realistically, what do you think about this? The idea that the two of them. First of all, what do you think about the Frankenstein thing? No, I want your opinion on Frankenstein.
Frankenstein, like
It's a bullshit thing. Why do we call him Frankenstein when it's Frankenstein's monster?
It's mass media pushing a message. They don't want to get into the details. So Frankenstein is an easier thing to make commercial. Frankenstein's
Like
monster.
Frankenberry cereal?
Yeah, to be the monster, like that takes a lot of steps of understanding what's going on. People don't like steps. Do
you fight this in marketing all the time?
Yeah.
He goes, yeah, I fight people's unknown ignorance all of the time.
Yeah, no steps. People can't take steps. And, like the Q42 stuff, there's like all these little Easter eggs about it. People don't. There's only a small portion of people who care about the Easter eggs.
Yeah, that's true.
Wild Turkey 101. That 01 is that.
It's a middle finger to the government?
Yes, because the government taxes you up to 100. That's why it's 01. And that's a cool Easter egg. But people don't want to hear that. They're like, oh, that's cool. And they move on. They don't want to know the story. They don't want to know the Easter eggs of what makes things interesting.
Well, that's the thing, I guess, with this whole Bates Torrance thing. People don't want to understand what makes this interesting.
Yep. It takes 30 seconds of your time that nobody has.
Yeah. Because you talk about Bates versus Torrance and they go, well, he's getting beat in pass protection, so he's a bad guard. No. You watch him in the running game, he is gigantic and he just corrals people and moves them. It's like other grown men who are starters on NFL defenses get moved against their will by this young kid. He is a man, like he's a man possessed in that phase of the game. He executes well. He's got great power. He's got great hands. He understands leverage. The problem is that when you ask him to pass protect, his technique is sloppy. It's like for all that size, he doesn't really know where he's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
This is a time on task thing for him. I think it's just you're not good at this and you need to get better. And I think that he got spared a lot in college, Chris, by the fact that you're a boy, the guy you believe most in this season. Your prop bet of the year, Anthony Richardson, was his quarterback.
Yeah.
Teams were afraid to just go whole hog and blitz him because he'll just run away. So he didn't face a lot of like defensive tackles who are going to try to roll you up into the pocket because they knew with Anthony Richardson at quarterback, the pocket could move. Mm-hmm. Instead, they did the Lamar Jackson thing and tried to contain him, which is cool, but it also hides your warts as a pass protector. Now they're being exposed, but that's not a bad thing. Bates is a low-end starter for a team that thinks it can win something.
Yeah.
In terms of his pass protection. In run, you can't rely on it.
No.
But now I think that, we've run a bunch of 12 personnel stuff in training camp. We've proven that we're kind of committing to this run idea, although the Harris injury murkies that. We're going to talk about that. But this idea, like Bates was average last year, but not the worst guard on our team. Now you've thrown in a guy who mauls in the rushing attack and who's learning how to pass protect. Well, I don't know. Like if the team truly does want more 12 personnel and they want that formation to work, you've got to run the ball effectively. I feel like he's kind of paving the way to his own starting right here by being effective as a run blocker, because realistically our offense is going to throw that at teams as soon as they get a lead.
Yeah.
Make the game longer, extend it, and then, hey, guess what? We can throw the ball too. I worry about what that means for Josh Allen, but I also see the upside in Torrance versus what Bates brings to the table. And he's established. We know what he is. He is a low-end starter at guard.
Utility.
utility guy. He can do center, he can do guard, he can do tackle in a pinch. Great, wonderful.
You want him on your team because you need him at some point.
Yep. I just like the fact that our defensive line might be good enough that he looks like he's struggling, but if he goes up against another team's starters, he might look all right.
Yep.
And that he dominates in the run phase against a good defensive line.
Yep.
That gives me hope that when bullets really start flying, he swims, you know? He's not just treading water, he swims. I can't wait to see that in live action, but it's not great right now coming out of training camp. The fact that we still have this murkiness between who is and who isn't.
When have we talked about training camp in the season? This is why I hate preseason.
Yeah, it's why all this needs to be shot in the face. Well, here's something that is tangible. Shakir as a returner gets murky quick. I got to see this with my own two eyes, the blue and red scrimmage. They're lining up, they're doing punt drills. Like they bring everybody out and they do a couple no contact. Hey, the offense marches down, scores a couple touchdowns, the crowd goes nuts. They're trying to get everybody into it. I get what you're doing. Don't sell me your hackery. I'm taking my kids to take a piss. I don't give a fuck about this. I come back and they're running punt drills. And it's Andy Isabella. It's that whatever the fuck his name is, Darrington Evans, and it's Shakir. And they're taking punts with pressure in their face. When he muffs this punt, Shakir muffs it, and you heard the crowd react like they were at a bar and they just watched a server drop a plate. It was an audible ooh. And you could tell they heard it on the field. Because people immediately kept patting him on the helmet, like it's okay, it's not so bad, whatever. But then he kept looking up to the stands and it's like, no, we booed you. That was bad. That was fucking bad. It was an unprompted muff of a punt. And the worst part, right? Because this is how I've been thinking about Shakir and his path to the final roster, was that, well, he's got utility as a returner. So the injury to Harris helped Naheem Hines. And look, I said it right, Chris.
You had to focus.
The injury to him, I thought, was paving the way for Shakir to make the roster. Because I go, oh, well, he has return utility. And then you see it with your own two eyes and you go, oh, no, I don't like that. Meanwhile, you watch him next to Andy Isabella, who they just signed. And you could tell the difference between I did this with my wife. I go, you don't know who either one of these players are. Who do you think is the one the Bills drafted, and who do you think was the street free agent? And she watched him, and she goes, well, obviously that guy. And I go, there it is. Andy Isabella, when he got the ball in his hands as a returner, he just looked decisive. He knew what he wanted to do. He cut upfield. He wasn't afraid of contact, but he also knew how to avoid it, and he just prepared for it, made a plan in his head, and started to move his feet. Shakir looked much more robotic and a little bit slower at it. And this has me worried. The fact that someone who doesn't know the nuances of the roster construction knows that guy looks better doing this thing than that guy. That's a problem at this point in the offseason, isn't it? Because you've kind of made your bed as far as who your returner is going to be. These are your options. I don't know. Also, Chris, isn't it weird? Trent Sherfield is here. And can we all agree he's basically penciled in?
Heard of him. Yeah.
Trent Sherfield. He's on the roster, penciled in, along with Keyshawn Johnson and Andy Isabella, who were two guys that got drafted ahead of him by that fucking moron, Steve Keim, in Arizona. And then he went to the coach and told them they had to play his draft picks over Trent Sherfield. We're petty motherfuckers.
Sherfield's a perfect fit here.
We're petty motherfuckers. Doesn't that have to feel good for Sherfield?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Him looking down the depth chart going, hey, assholes, remember that? Remember when you got to play in Arizona and I didn't, and now look at us. Look where I am, look where you are.
He is a Buffalo player storyline that everyone will fucking love.
I love it. But so the question about what happens with Shakir, I don't know. You're not going to cut him, probably. But also, if he's not the best returner, then they might just give the job to Andy Isabella. And then the question becomes, how do you find what position? Offensive line, defensive back? Like, where are you trimming from this roster in order to put a kick returner on the roster because your 5th round draft pick can't do the job?
Yep.
I just don't like where this is headed. I don't like the dynamics of the return position right now. But there's a couple things I like less than that, and that brings us to tonight's ugly.
You're so ugly you could be a modern art masterpiece.
I told him anytime you can work R. Lee Ermey into a Bills podcast, you fucking do it. How about injury scares? Like, this last week has been wild. Deion Dawkins leaves with a thumb injury, and people are like, oh no, he's got a brace on it. Fuck. And then he comes back and he practices. Thank God. Poyer, all of a sudden he's wearing the elbow brace again. It's like, oh no. Are we priming ourselves for another one of these? Josh Allen leaves after getting hit in the elbow, and everyone goes, oh no. But he practices, and he does fine. He seems fine. I don't know how much is toughness, how much is pain. I don't know what happened. Harris goes out with a knee injury. Damian Harris and his knee injury. Now, this is concerning because it's half the reason he was so cheap. It's why we got him for a bargain on the open market, Iman. And so for me, I look at this and I say to myself, the guy who you bought low because you thought you might be able to sell high is doing the thing that he's been doing throughout his entire career, which is just being hurt. Chris, can you rely on him at this point?
No. He's
Okay.
a Belichick disciple.
Okay, so then why don't you pull up that Spotrac chart and
For
why
running
don't-
backs?
Yep, and why don't you give me all the free agent running backs? Because here's what I like.
Zeke.
There's a couple things that make me feel better about this, and it makes me feel like a dick. At this point in the season, if you were a team who had another running back injury, like we already lost Hines, if we were to lose another running back and only have 2 that are reasonably rosterable in an NFL capacity, Iman, look at that list of all the people who are available, who don't have jobs today.
Well, J.D. McKissick had a job here.
He had a job here for 5 minutes.
Yep.
I wonder if he just burned that bridge so badly.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Chris, do you believe that his agent, like, because Brandon Beane seemed pissed about that.
Yeah.
I don't know that he would do business with that agent again, just cause. But so then you think like Giovanni Bernard, he's 30. But like, look at some of these names.
Tywan Jones.
Tywan Jones. Scroll down a little bit. So this is what I like to see. When you get into the younger players, there's no one out there who's worth a shit that has any like,
Master Teague.
Master Teague. Like these are the players you're talking about. What Champ? Is it Champkin or Champklin?
Champklin.
Sham.
David Johnson was a stud. He was a star. What
David
happened?
Johnson for who?
He's on NO now, New Orleans. But
Yeah, David Johnson, who was relative.
he was on the
he was-
Cardinals.
he was on the Arizona St. Louis Cardinals.
he was relevant. What?
But that guy
5 years ago?
was supposed to be the best ever. What happened?
Yeah, he got old, like all running backs do. That's
It takes
why
like
Chris.
5 years.
So Chris, think about this. David Johnson is out here. Now, remember, David Johnson negotiated that fat contract, got himself paid. Scroll up to the top of the screen. Why do you think all these dickheads are here? Ezekiel Elliott, Delvin Cook, Leonard Fournette, Kareem Hunt.
I'll take Fournette for us.
Yeah, but click the market value. What are we looking at for Leonard Fournette? What does Spotrac think he's going to get? 2.3?
It's not my money.
I'm not spending 2.3 on Leonard Fournette.
No.
All right. What does Dalvin Cook want? Like 5?
Oh no, he's
8, 7.
yeah, but his
Jesus
agent
Christ.
wants 10.
I like his brother better.
I like his brother better. How about Kareem Hunt? How about the fact that Kareem Hunt,
7.
like this is a weird thing going on with the NFL market right now for them. Like running backs are not getting paid, but also then you look at this and you go, look at Ezekiel Elliott. The fact that nobody's brought him in for visits.
Yeah. Because they don't it's not as big of a part of an offense anymore.
No, especially not if you're a good football team. They go, well, I want to go play for a contender. Well, then fuck you. You're going to make league minimum. Why? Because they throw the football. If you are a contender, you throw the football. I'm sorry. What you do isn't worth much. And everyone goes, no, but I could be that piece. No, you can't, because we run the ball 15 times a game. We've got guys. I think back to that Shane Gillis podcast. We got guys. Oh, my God. I can't wait till you'll get that reference when we're done doing this. Ultimately, there are guys on the market who, if Harris can't pan out, if he can't stay healthy, if he doesn't get to perform in this preseason, we will replace him. I don't think the Bills will roster him, Chris, if he can't go at any point during the preseason. What do you think?
No.
I mean, they bought low. They could
no,
sell
I think
low
I
and move
I
on.
feel like the ball's going to be James Cook all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
but
do
he
too.
can't. But he can't pass protect worth a shit, and he still can't.
Well, that's what training camp's for. Learn it.
Yeah, but he's not, and that's a problem. We're at the end of training camp. He's still not a good run blocker.
Okay, if he takes out somebody on if
Luckily-
he takes out somebody on the Colts on Saturday and gives him a torn ACL, then he did his job.
Who are you talking about? I'm talking
James Cook, pass protection.
about. Yeah,
If he takes out a linebacker,
but he's not
at
going
the knees.
to. What he's going to do is he's going to get run over like he has done, and one of these guys is going to get hurt. James Cook probably won't play. Realistically, our best bet's Latavius Murray, and we're lucky that we have him because he's 6'3", 230.
He's like 45, right?
He's at 45. What do you think? He's your age?
Yeah. We
He's
grew up together.
we used to
33.
work together.
We grew up. We worked at Pizza Hut together, man.
So Latavius Murray has shown well as both a rusher and a pass protector. He's next man up, right? But also, if you can bring in one of these guys off the street and get one of them to just chase that, like, hey, do you want to win a ring or not? There's options. So I feel like a piece of shit, but the market isn't terrible.
The Bills are gonna have David Johnson on this roster at some point this year. I see it.
You want to make a Seagram's bet on it?
Yeah.
Ah, there we go. Iman, the Seagram's bet of the show. David Johnson, Bills roster.
He's on it.
Oh, I can't wait to have you back at the end of the year so we can. Oh, I can watch you slug a fucking. What is it? What are they called? The Calypso, a Calypso cooler. Just face it literally tastes like someone rubbed down a shovel with a fucking coconut and hit
This
you
is
in
my
the face
beta
with it.
bet.
This is your beta bet. You're like, it's low risk.
I'm looking at this list and I'm like, the Bills will go for someone like David Johnson. Like
31 years old.
Week 9 will be like, oh, that's the guy.
That's the guy. And then, Chris, if we're talking about ugly, it's this quarterback situation. And that's where I want you to take the Spotrac website and spin at the quarterbacks for me. Oh, you've already got it up. Look at you. Fucking professional.
You told me to do that 3 hours ago.
Who is EJ Perry?
Yeah, that's my point. The Bills might need to be one of the teams looking at the cut list around the NFL when it comes to backup quarterback at the end of the preseason. Because by all accounts, these guys are bad, but I saw it with my own 2 eyes. I watched Kyle Allen botch not 1 but 2 snaps. Just ridiculously, like Keystone Cops style botch a snap from I don't know if it was Bates at center, but whoever it was, these two, like, this guy is struggling to take a snap from under center, and I'm supposed to believe that on a Sunday with pressure in his face and a lot of actual gravity to the situation, that guy can execute.
I kind of miss.
That's every time he's on the field.
Case Keenum was the perfect backup for this team.
Yes, and we traded away a 7th round draft pick in order to get him. Like, we knew that he was the perfect backup.
Keenum is a guy who can do that 2 to 3 week thing.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you decided this year to play it cheap. You brought back Barkley, who, Chris, we've long talked about this. The games where they brought Barkley in, they didn't trust him to fucking throw.
But Josh likes him. That's all it is.
And then Kyle Allen, another one of Josh Allen's boys,
Yep.
guess what? Turns out he turns the ball over at a horrific pace. They were talking this week about how his worst interception of camp so far happened yesterday. He threw the ball off the mark by about 7 yards, and all Saron Neal was. So it was like a Madden interception where Saron Neal is standing alone with no wide receiver around him, and all he had to do was jump up a little bit and catch it.
I don't feel good about it, Bob.
Drew definitely doesn't feel good about it.
I don't feel good about anything. These quarterbacks make me sick. Is Thad Lewis still available? Did he formally retire?
I would take
Can we
Thad
talk
over
him out
this.
of it?
I'd take Thad.
Chris,
over
when you
this.
look at this list, who would you take right now? Looking at the list according to Spotrac of available quarterbacks.
I don't have to see any of this. Carson Wentz.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. 30 years old. He's the youngest available quarterback to have done anything at an NFL level. Nick Foles, Super Bowl champion,
Yep.
34. Tom Brady, 46 years old, hanging out on a beach, has a contract for Fox, but doesn't want to do it, but doesn't want to play football. I don't know what the fuck, getting facelifts. Fuck that guy. Matt Ryan working for CBS because he's just gotten his head kicked in. Do you know he was the most sacked quarterback going into Indy? And then he became the most, he held it again. He was the most sacked quarterback 2 years in a row, then went to Indy and got sacked the most again.
2 really shitty franchises. It's like, that guy was so good.
And you just ground him down to nothing.
Yeah, that guy could have been so good.
And then Carson Wentz is the only 30-year-old out here with any real high-end talent left, but also it's fucking Carson Wentz. Why do you think, Chris, why do you think he doesn't have a contract right now?
Because he's not good and he's probably looking to be a starter. I mean, why else would you do a fucking workout and wear a Redskins jersey, a Eagles helmet, and Colts shorts?
Wait, he did that? Is that real or was that Photoshop?
No, that was not photo. It was real.
It's real.
He's got
If I'm his agent, I'd shoot you in the feet for that. I would shoot you in the leg and then fire you.
I'll take Chase Daniel.
I'll take Chase. I would take
Chase Daniel is a guy who knows who he is, knows what the.
Drew, do you have any?
He's like a Matt Barkley.
Drew, let me ask you this: how much money has Chase Daniel made
Oh, fucking
in his
fortune.
career?
Hey, right click on his right click and open a separate tab. Let's see all of the money that Chase Daniel has made.
I know what it is. I'm asking you if you have a
Iman,
guess.
how much do you think? I want to say it's about
20
30. I want to say 30 mil.
I say 25 mil.
Drew is closer. It's like 41 million.
$41 million for being a backup
Yeah.
forever.
41 million right there.
God damn.
Over 14 seasons. Now, when you go to statistics, look at this. Games started. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He started 5 games.
Wait, who drafted him? I forgot.
In 2012, he started 16 games
The Chargers.
for New Orleans.
No, 2012.
Oh, 2011.
Oh, there we go.
2011 and
New
2012, he was a starter.
Well, no, it says he played in 16 games, but it says 0 games started.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So no drafted him. Then Casey took him
Oh, Jesus Christ.
because he was really popular in Missouri. I was living in St. Louis at the time, and he's like a good fucking dude. And
Is he?
that's what they say. And
It's that Midwest hayseed nonsense.
I will take him in Buffalo because he knows what he is. He is that that's his MO. He's like the quarterback. I know what I am. Here's what I'm here for. Let's do it.
I would take a Nick Foles. Why? Because the guy proved that once in a while he can get in his fucking bag with a high-end team and just go win you something. Fuck it. Why not? But realistically, Nick Foles has to be better than what we have.
Whoa, the Colts signed him?
Wait, did the Colts sign him?
No,
No.
he's made 86 million.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus.
Oh my God. Chris, at this point, are you not already
56 games started.
Okay, so Brandon Beam will never say it, but are you quietly back channeling with Nick Foles and just being like, "Hey man, look. If things this preseason go sideways, can we tab you? You've already made $86 million. Can you come in here and just do it for 1.5? Just come do the thing."
And he'll probably say, no, I have 86 million in the bank.
$86 million. Hey, do you want a second ring? and maybe you have to go win it because Josh is going to literally kill himself.
All right,
trying to
I'll
win
go
this
Nick
thing.
Foles.
Nick Foles might be the only one out there with. I like the fact that Joe Flacco hasn't formally retired, even though I think the NFL has proven they're done with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
It's
You wanna get to-
amazing.
You want to get to the sauce?
Yeah.
We'll get to the
So why
sauce.
don't you bring me this? Bring me them chips. And let's have
You want
this.
chips? I
Well,
brought.
first I want it naked, and then I want a chip.
I got spoons for you guys.
Oh, yeah. So, guys, Rich Perks, listen to the show. As we kind of close out the final week of training camp, I feel like everything needs a stunt, right? Like you need an exit. It can't just end with like, well, we bitched about quarterbacks. And that's how it goes. Rich Perks is a hot sauce. All I can think of is Tropic Thunder. He goes, I was a saucier down in San Antone. That's all I can think of when it comes to Rich.
This is his barbecue sauce.
He has sent us sauces. Now, this is his barbecue sauce. Now, Iman, in the most heterosexual way possible, I'm going to feed you a spoonful of the
Oh.
sauce.
Honest opinion, Iman.
What are you tasting there?
It's very balanced.
No, it's even. I expected it to be very sweet, and it was not. There's a lot of like a caramely molasses layer to that. So there's sugar in there.
It comes down.
Do you think this is the ketchup base? I don't know what the base is. I taste Worcestershire.
Mm-hmm.
I taste.
I get heat on the back end.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a little spice on the back end. Guys, this is way better than beer evaluation. We're evaluating sauce. I like how Iman got back in there after I like how I fed him sauce on camera.
You know that's a gift, right?
I'm sure.
Iman, can I fill you one of these and then you use it this weekend?
Yeah. So I'm making chicken this weekend.
No, this is good. It's smooth. It's balanced. It's got a little
Worcestershire.
spice.
There's a lot of Worcestershire.
There's Worcestershire, but I like that. Because whatever the sweetness is, the Worcestershire is
There's
a nice,
that anchovy or soy.
It's probably
one of them.
soy.
Yeah.
Because you're the only dickhead who uses anchovy.
Here are
When people
Rich's,
see that on the bottle, they freak out. You know that, right?
Rich's hot sauces.
Oh, and Rich sent us hot sauces. The wasabi soy,
I don't know if you need that or if
the
you're going to spoon it.
mango. This looks like mango hob, and this is
I will say,
mango tajir.
if anything for Rich to get better at, it's your fucking handwriting.
Rich, you don't have to take that. What I suggest is that you make a bomb and send it to Chris in the mail.
No, that's a good sauce.
Yeah, hand me that sauce. I'll put some in a container for you. You can cook with it this weekend.
Guys, Rich Perks. What's his Twitter handle?
I believe it's at RichPerks27.
Guys, give him a follow. He's hilarious. I remember when he got stranded in the same place Hugo got stranded overseas. And we were talking to him about it, and it turns out he now knows Hugo because of that. This is his wasabi soy. And that's what it tastes like. Like this would be a great thing for like a stir fry.
Yep.
That's a great hot sauce for a stir fry. Look at this, Rich. There's a lot of profanity I want to use right now in a positive way. I like that. I like a lot of this. I can't wait to test these. Thank you for sending them to us. And thank you for helping us close out this training camp stuff on a high note. Because do you want some habanero or are you too old?
Let's do it.
All right. As you close the show out, I'm going to open up this habanero sauce of yours. I'm going to pour Iman a shot. Now, a lot of people might be wondering why Iman is easy. They're not talking about cooking. Well, tonight we recorded the inaugural episode of Always Sunny in South Buffalo, a Q42 produced barbecue and basically just a Buffalo podcast.
I love how unprofessional we got in here at the end.
Yep.
Iman, I can literally hear you chewing.
Guys, we are a professional podcast. We're the most professional. Guys, I'm Drew Gear. That's Chris Kruger. It's Iman Azizi. This is Rich Perk Sauce. And this has been your Rockbout Report.